Hello, and welcome to Relevate Presents Scholarship, the podcast where we use real research to analyze, scrutinize, and humanize your favorite TV and movie couples. I'm your host, Eric Goodcase. Hello and welcome to a special 90s Nickelodeon nostalgia edition of Relevate Presents Scholarship. Joining me today, we have a multi-talented relationship scientist. He is also the producer of the show and does our intro music, Denzel Jones. Denzel, thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. Multi-talented. Wow.
Yeah, I'm really feeling flattering today, so I feel like I should throw some of that at your way to make sure this goes well.
I appreciate it. I try to give some back here and there.
Oh, perfect. Fair enough. So, as you guys might know, we're going to be talking about 90s Nickelodeon today. We are both products of 90s and Nickelodeon. Both made us the men we are today, so to speak. But before we get into that, I was going to give Denzel a chance to talk a little bit about what his research is and kind of what he's interested in. So, Denzel, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about what it is you're researching recently.
Yeah, for sure. So just very broadly, I'm pretty interested in social justice and advocacy work. So the research that I do is primarily focusing on different minority groups, whether it be race, religion, sexual orientation, et cetera, et cetera. More specifically, where I'm at right now, working more with racial minorities. So currently starting to prepare my dissertation, getting started up with that. And it's pretty exciting, right?
Yeah.
exciting and scary.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the impact of racial socialization messages from different socialization agents on racial identity and Black youth. Pretty much what I'm doing right now.
Very cool. You ready to get into the list?
Yeah, man. Let's jump into it. Let's do it.
So before we start, we'll go over kind of the rules that we set up to make sure this was on the up and up. So we decided we wanted to rank the top 3 best and worst 90s Nickelodeon couples. So these could be any couple, whether they're official or kind of implied or obsession, as we'll get to with some of them.
Yeah, had a fling. Or...
Yeah, exactly. So any kind of slightly romantic storyline, so to speak, in a 90s Nickelodeon show. So the show could be live action or cartoon. But it had to premiere on Nickelodeon in the 90s. So shows like Animaniacs don't count, in case you're listening for Wacko Yakko and Hello Nurse. Not gonna be able to do it. That didn't air on Nickelodeon originally. Shows like Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom.
Timeline. Yeah, I was hurt.
Yeah, so they premiered after 2000, so they're ineligible, as well as the show Brothers Garcia. So I apologize to all the vast number of fans of the Brothers Garcia. We're going to be missing out today. But SpongeBob would be technically allowed, even though most of it ran in the 2000s. It did premiere in 1999, so it is eligible. Other rules of note, only one show per list. So your entire good list can't be from the same show. Your entire bad list can't be from the same show, which is good because I would just talk about Hey Arnold for the entire bad list. Like,
really,
there's so many options. Just I'll go over a little bit, but there's just so many options from Hey Arnold. Just terrible relationships. Trying to remember if we had any other rules. Do you remember anything that we discussed rule wise?
No, I think you covered it. I think you covered it pretty well.
Sounds good. Well, how was your process like making this list?
Well, I decided to save a surprise for you.
Okay.
My list has no live action.
Okay.
No live action shows on it. Says a lot about like the social context that I was in growing up and the ideology that I had of my irrational fear of being afraid that I wasn't gonna grow up to become an adult. But so. A lot of cartoons on my list.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Process was, I thought it was a little more difficult than I thought, honestly.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
There was a lot of relationships that were I found to be pretty stereotypical across shows.
Absolutely.
And it made me think in a broader context about like what we were teaching our kids back then, and how relationships
100%.
look and how they should work or shouldn't. But yeah, I had a lot of issues with,
I
with some
found
relationships.
it difficult too dealing with the different age groups because
sure.
I felt like I had to do a lot of like extrapolating, like this is an appropriate relationship for this age context.
Makes sense.
To compare child relationships or like teenage relationships to adult relationships was difficult because you have a different set of expectations.
Makes
so
sense.
I kind of use some extrapolation, like where are they at developmentally and how does that relate to where they should be, kind of a thing.
That's smart. I just expected everybody to have all their stuff together.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes.
It was that I think made it really difficult because I was talking to a friend about my list and I was giving a few of my options and he was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Well, what's wrong?" It's like, they're children. Why are you talking about children's relationships like that? But I don't know. I think this is more fun than not, so I figured I'd go through with it anyway and kind of treat it developmentally. Did you have more trouble with the good list or the bad list?
I had more trouble with the good list.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just saw so many different stereotypes being played out, social roles across different cartoons that
Definitely.
Just as we became older and just being in the field that we're in and having our privileged education, just being able to pinpoint those things and spot it out. It's just like, wow, come on, guys, really? But
yeah, it's interesting watching it from a different lens. So one of the other hard parts about making this list is these shows aren't exactly easy to track down. They're not on Netflix. You can catch a few on YouTube, but that made it a little bit harder to go back and review.
A lot of retrospective, trying to like pull out those thoughts and memories of like what happened and piecing it all together.
Yeah, for sure. And I also noticed that a lot of the the main storyline characters, because they're part of the main storyline, they have to like create drama around it. It was very hard to find good relationships from like the main characters. A lot of mine are kind of like secondary characters. But I actually had more trouble with the bad list.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Tell me about that.
I don't know exactly what it was, but I was trying to find like something that first of all, remembering it well enough was the hard part of it, but also it was just like I wanted to remember it well enough and like not just like the feeling it left me. I wanted to have some evidence as to why this relationship wasn't good. So like there's a couple that I was like, I remember this being a bad relationship, but my memory is not there.
Yep.
So that made it a little bit more difficult, but I got my list, so I'm ready to go. You got yours?
Yeah, you ready to jump into it?
Yeah, and just note to the audience, Denzel and I have not talked about our list. This is the first time we're hearing about it from either one of us, and we thought that would be a fun twist. So I have no idea what's on Denzel's list. He has no idea what's on mine. We're just kind of figuring it out as we go. All right, so the way I was kind of thinking about it was we'd go like, do you want to start with the bad list or the good list?
Start with the. What do you think?
I think we should start with the bad list. That way, the very last thing we talk about is our number one on the good list.
Yeah, let's do that.
Wraps it up. So we'll kind of go through. We have some honorable mentions too, so we'll do our 3, our 2. We'll go over our honorable mentions before we hit number 1. Does that work for you?
For sure.
Sounds good. All right. So, what is your choice for the number 3 worst relationship in the 90s Nickelodeon lore?
It's honorable mention?
No, number 3 on your list.
Number 3 on my list. So number 3. I'm going SpongeBob with this one.
Okay.
Going SpongeBob. I'm going to say number 3 is Plankton Karen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about Plankton and Karen. I don't remember. I'm familiar with because that's like the robot, right?
Yeah. Plankton basically made his wife the artificial intelligence. It stood for something. I can't remember what wife stood for, but he basically built his wife.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like Karen, she doesn't often show it, but she really does care for Plank. And although they have evil intentions of taking over Bikini Bottom, at least we could say that they have that thing together.
Right.
So I guess that's something good that comes out of this relationship.
That's good.
But the thing is, Plankton is very, very, very dependent on Karen, and oftentimes he loses himself in this relationship.
Okay.
In the sense that Plankton can't even function well enough to complete basic tasks such as blinking without Karen being there to help him along the way. So she is very much the driver in this relationship, and pretty much makes up for a lot of the screw ups that he has.
Yeah. So like some positives in terms of her really caring for him, but he just is so dependent that it's a liability.
Just ultra used, for lack of better terms, right now, and trying to step out of that research brain a little bit. But it's also mentioned that they have an arranged marriage, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
What really the issue about this is Karen actually never agreed to marry Plank. She sometimes appears to be unhappy in the relationship. Other times it's questionable. Sometimes she appears happy, but a lot of the time she appears to be unhappy.
Well,
so
she's very stuck.
Yeah. So not only does she take care of him like she's his mother, she also just isn't happy in their relationship, and just kind of just dragging him along for the ride of life.
And there's certainly a difference between like an arranged marriage and kind of like, you know, she can't like move and leave on her own accord. She's very much stuck, and that kind of paints a bad picture.
Yeah. And he kind of made her, but that too. That's a different story. So that's number 3 on my list.
Yeah, I'm not sure how really that falls into it. Do you want to go through your list, or do you want me to hit my number 3?
Hit your number 3. Let's see what you got.
All right, you're not going to like this one.
Really?
I already know ahead of time.
Okay.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 on the worst list, I have Doug Funny and Patricia Mayonnaise.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Tell me why.
Partly because I know you love Doug, and I wanted to create some back and forth, I guess, to create some controversy.
I figured.
So send all your hate mail my way, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of that. It's a pretty well-liked couple, but a lot of my rationale was a lot of Doug's kind of obsession, essentially.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, it was just in terms of how he would. First of all, the how they met, you know, the slipping on the ketchup and it's just like the instant falling in love, you know, that is kind of an issue, I think, just kind of like and part of it's just his age, right? You know, when you're a kid, you tend to ascribe really strong feelings very quickly, maybe not warranted, but it is like borderline obsession-y. He kind of like thinks about her and like,
yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
She doesn't seem to be too interested in him romantically. And keep in mind, for all those listening, this is Disney Doug has nothing to do with this podcast. Once Doug went to Disney, as far as we're concerned, it doesn't exist. This is only Nickelodeon Doug. Because honestly, I have no idea if that changed at all. And I know, and maybe you remember better than I do. I remember Patty and Doug going on a date. Do you remember what happened?
Yeah. It was that they went out. And they were under like the doorstep, and Doug like tried to lean in and kiss her. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she was just like, "Okay, well, good night," and she just ran in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that very distinctly.
Yeah, I just it's hard because it's not mutual. It's very much one-sided, and they get along. They're very good friends, and that's why they're not at Helga and Arnold Standus, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point today. Talking about.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure. But
it is kind of like overly obsessive, and it's not mutual, which means that I don't know what it is about Patty he's into other than kind of like idealizing her, if that makes sense.
For sure. So I actually had them, and this is going to be my plot twist, so I guess you kind of screwed it up for me. I actually had them number 2 on my good list.
Okay, yeah. I kind of thought they'd be on your good list. Like I said, I'm trying to create some controversy by doing this. So
you're actually pulling me to your side a little bit, though. I like your argument. It's very compelling.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So I will say, Doug has a lot of insecurities about himself, his relation to others, a lot of confidence issues, which that's something that he should probably work on more so before worried about getting into a relationship.
True. That's a really good point. You're helping my side more.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for. But I would say that they're very supportive of each other. A lot of times we saw Doug be in a bind or a situation, and Patty wasn't afraid to step in and stand up for him and stick up for him. There was also times whenever Roger would be picking on Patty. Roger was just a bully. He picked on everybody.
That's true.
When Roger picked on Doug, Doug took it. But he was not taking it whenever Roger picked on Patty.
That's very true.
So, still maybe kind of playing into your accession piece a little, but...
also plays into that kind of... it's not the... the fact that Roger's picking on someone, it's not like that is what's bothering him. It really is that he feels like he has to kind of go in and save her.
For sure. Yeah, you're killing me here. You're killing me.
I think I'm winning right now.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Sure. I don't know. I just like, this just could be like my total 100% bias. I'm going to throw it out there. This is my bias.
Fair enough.
I just think that if Doug just worked on himself a little bit, that they could just work on building each other up. I just think they have a very positive future together. I think it could work.
So you're hardcore shipping them right now.
I'm shipping them.
Yeah.
I'm shipping them.
That's
not number one status, but
right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not G6, G14 classifications yet, but yeah.
Yeah. And I do see that side of it. Like I said, I think this one is, I don't think it would have been in my top 3 if I didn't want to kind of create some controversy around it. But I really do. I see a lot of the kind of that obsession stuff, but also kind of now that you brought up the thing about Roger picking on her, I noticed that too. It's the saving her. A lot of his fantasies are about him being, Smash Adams or Quail Man, and
Quail Man,
using his
Dr. Klotzenstein, and
I'm thinking of the one where it's like a
he was that big
T-Rex.
He was like the Godzilla thing. Yeah. He used the quail eyes.
The eye of the quail.
The eye of the quail.
Man, not quite. I mean, between Quail Man and Really, Really Big Man, it's hard to choose. My favorite superhero from the 90s Nickelodeon lore, but Quail Man was pretty impressive. That eye of the quail. Patience.
Yeah.
Shoot.
2 more.
Yeah, patience and speed. Intelligence, patience, intelligence, and speed. That's what it is.
That's what it was.
That's what brings it home. And that's a good message, too. I think he had some good things going on for him. But
he's trying. I think he ages a little. He learns more about himself. I think they can make this work.
Fair enough.
I don't know. It's my bias. Bias is coming out.
And you never know. We don't have that. We don't have that foresight into the future.
Guess we could watch Disney.
Yeah, we could. But here's my challenge to Nickelodeon. If you're listening, I want a college version of Doug. I want to know what's happening in Doug's life, 20s, early 20s, with Doug and Patty. How did that go? I want to see what happened to these people.
That would be cool.
So you make that show, you got an audience. I promise you that. It might just be me and Denzel, but you got an audience.
You got an audience. It'd be like the all grown up version, except more grown up.
Yeah, more grown up.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure. Who you got for number 2?
Number 2
on the bad list.
Number 2 on the bad list. So I'm going to be tossing you the alley-oop on this one.
Okay.
You probably have a lot more knowledge than I have on this one.
Okay.
But I'm going to PS 118.
Ooh, yeah.
PS 118.
Very nice.
And I'm going with Arnold and Lila.
Oh, okay.
Yep, number
Very
2 on the worst list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are an honorable mention for me. I have several Hey Arnold honorable mentions because, like I said, there's just an entire list.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Reason I chose them. It's just, again, it's a heartbreaking story.
This is the Doug and Patty conversation all over again.
Yeah, it's kind of what it is. So, have young guy meets young girl. Not really thinking anything of it. Have another variable come in with Helga, right? And what was it, Arnold loves Lila on the bathroom wall or something like that?
Oh, I don't remember this.
Something like that. Somehow Lila found that out and really thought that Arnold liked her. Liked her.
Gotcha.
But he didn't at this time.
Oh, I do remember this now.
So the more she started playing up this whole like thing, Arnold just started to catch feelings for her. Just being in the proximity and just continuously talk about it. He started to catch some feelings for her. But eventually, as he caught these feelings for her, she was just kind of like, nah, fam, like, I'm not really feeling you no more. And it was just like...
Yeah, because didn't it swap? Wasn't she interested in Arnold at one point and then it switched?
Yep, then it switched. So, like, the whole rest of, like, the series, like, Arnold spent this time, like, really trying to impress this girl that he really liked that just had no feelings for him. Yeah. The bad point is, she ended up falling for Arnold's cousin.
Yeah,
Arnie. Yeah.
So I was going to bring them up because they're so funny because I think they're, like, a weirdly good couple.
Yeah.
Because, like...
Arnie,
I think Lila's nice, but
Arnie
and
Arnie.
Lila.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Lila's kind of boring, and like Arnie is the epitome of boring. Like he reads the back of peanut labels on flights. He reads shampoo ingredients. Like the dude is straight up boring, and like she's not super exciting either. She's very nice. And I think that's her defining feature, and I think a lot of her personality gets lost because it's just about how she's nice.
Yeah. Just really Southern Belle type.
Yeah.
Southern Belle type, nice.
We would like to interrupt your current listening experience to introduce you to another podcast you might like.
I'm Elisa Lucas from Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits. I'd like to start a movement where we spend more time loving on our friends because although friends are important to us, they're often in the shadow of other relationships. So if you want to love on your friendships a little bit more, embrace friendship a little bit more, or just appreciate your friendships a little bit more, then this podcast is for you. We'll explore all the different ways friendships take place, share the amazing stories of friendship, and discuss best practices for the difficulties that friends may experience. It's time to embrace friendships because without our friends, who would we be? So check out Best Forevers on iTunes, Stitcher, and all the other podcasting listening venues. And be sure to follow Best Forevers Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And like, I think it's something to be said too about how she was into him, and then once he became into her, she wasn't about that. Like, I think they both have something there, and I think Arnold and Ruth would go along similar lines here.
Yeah,
because Arnold was pretty obsessed with Ruth pre-Lila.
Yeah,
but Ruth was older, kind of unattainable, and Arnold kind of moved to a more attainable crush.
Yeah.
But still a lot of the same thing, just like really into, but very one-sided.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ruth on your honorable mentions?
No, I mean, like, yeah, I actually did have Arnold and Ruth and Arnold and Lila just because they're very similar kind of ideas.
All over the place.
Though Ruth seemed to be more looks-based and Lila seemed to be more personality-based. So I feel like that did signify some growth for Arnold.
Yeah.
Because Ruth, he was really into those braces. He was really just into those braces that Ruth had, and he had. I'm trying to remember. Wasn't there an episode where he was faking being a waiter and like using that to kind of date Ruth?
I vaguely remember that. You got me with that.
Going back and forth between dating her and like Helga, quote unquote, Helga's French cousin or whatever.
I remember Helga's French cousin.
I kind of remember the entire storyline here, but he did kind of have some interplay with Ruth. But I think he found out that he wasn't into her after a while. Like it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
Despite all the work he put into that cheese festival.
I remember cheese festival. Oh man, this is great. Like just remembering all the things that happened.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. But yeah, so I think Arnold Lila, not a bad choice. Yeah.
Right. Ready to move on? Your number two?
Yeah, my number two is Drew and Charlotte Pickles from Rugrats.
Okay. I have them on my honorable mentions.
Do you? Yeah. So I was actually going to do the same thing you did. I was going to throw us to you a little bit because I don't remember them very well. I just know that in the entire Rugrats universe, the parental supervision was so atrocious. Just unbelievable. Like, how do you lose the kids that many times? Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I do think that Charlotte as a mother did really try hard, but she was just so caught up in work.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was cool to have a businesswoman type character, very
Yeah.
But at the same time,
start for a progressive movement.
And you could see a lot of the issues in the relationship through Angelica, right?
Yeah.
So Angelica was, mean and needed attention and spoiled and all those things. And she was very much a manifestation of the relationship between Drew and Charlotte, which, was, I think, very similar in the fact that they didn't spend much time with each other. They're both kind of in their own worlds, it seemed like.
For sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think you might have more information Rugrats wise than you. I used to love Rugrats and watched all the time, and my memory of Rugrats just is not very good.
Yeah, I would say that you just think about the various different contexts that comes into play with their relationship. So you mentioned a lot about Angelica.
Yeah,
that's very much a good point. Whenever you think about them two as individuals, they both had very good, very prestigious jobs.
Yes, yeah.
Especially what was her name? Charlotte. Especially Charlotte. So as you also mentioned, a huge issue was that Charlotte was very much a powerhouse.
Yeah.
She came off as a little insane at times, and she's just a workaholic. Yeah. Just workaholic mother, workaholic partner. So she really spent a lot of time, the majority of her time focused on her work. She spent very little time focused on Angelica.
Yeah. And I'm assuming just by proxy, not very much time with her husband either.
Yep. Yeah. Getting there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm stepping on your toes.
Thinking about Drew. He also had a very good job. He spent a lot of time on Angelica. He would call her princess and angel and cupcake and muffin, and he was just all about Angelica. Loved her to death. Just absolutely loved Angelica. The way that it manifested just wasn't so healthy and productive to their relationship.
And that honestly, it sounds like, I'm going to step on your toes again. Honestly, that sounds very much related to the fact that he's not able to do that with his wife, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds like, it sounds like that's kind of, I don't know. That just sounds like a redirecting some.
I can see that.
Yeah. And that's obviously speculation. I'm not saying that's what Rugrats intended at all, but I could certainly see that kind of in play. As one parent is kind of, or one member of the couple is kind of very involved elsewhere, and to kind of I don't want to say replace that because that gets weird, but
for sure,
just kind of having this kind of energy towards caring and wanting to be there for someone, and not being able to place it with your partner, but maybe going over and above with making sure Angelica knows, oh, princess, I love you, all those things, because he doesn't want to lose Angelica, maybe he lost.
Wow, that's deep.
I feel like I'm making some really big conclusions from a show I have not seen in a long time, but
hey, that's what cartoons are all about.
Yeah,
full of imagination, true. Right? But yeah, just trying to focus on work, focus on Angelica. They just didn't have a lot of time for each other. I guess Angelica is just the human embodiment of their relationship. Yeah,
it's kind of how I viewed it. One, the parenting's atrocious, and I did take that into account. All of the parents on Rugrats could be held account, could be on this list in terms of parenting wise.
Yeah.
In a lot of these shows, because let's be honest, if the kids are going to have adventures, that means the parents have to be terrible. It's trtrue though.
Yeah.
Grandpa tells Arnold and his friends to go onto this train, this ghost train that goes tells them to go chase other things, and the Thornberrys don't seem to care very much what Eliza's doing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other parents.
They were boring. The Thornberrys. Nigel and
Marianne.
Marianne, they were boring.
We'll get back to them.
Okay.
We'll get back to them at some point, probably. How was I going to say? But it's a staple of child shows, and what parents would tell their 10-year-old son on the very first day they're in a new city to go to the Honker Burger and bring back food for everyone?
Yeah.
Who would do that?
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's oh, we're unpacking. Hey, 10-year-olds, go. And they have a teenage daughter. Judy could have done it.
Yeah.
I know she has some issues and probably isn't very meat friendly, but
yeah.
She could have easily also gone to the Honker Burger where they sent Doug on this long trip to, anyway.
They could have spent some family time together and going. I can't remember if there was a reason why they didn't, but
Yeah, I don't remember either. I just very distinctly remember Doug going by himself to a restaurant in this new town that he just moved into.
It was fake, man. He was supposed to slip on that ketchup packet.
Which
They're meant to be, man. I'm telling you.
Back to them, which he keeps under his bed, like in a special box. Like that's a little much. That's almost Helgask. That is almost Helgask.
Young love, man. Young love.
Fair enough. All right. Before we get to the number one worst relationship on our list, who are some honorable mentions? Who else did you got on your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. So we talked about Drew and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
I also had, this is a little stretch, I had Mr. and Mrs. Bighead.
As did I.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what you had them.
So I actually originally had them on my list.
Okay.
Because my memory of them was not that they weren't very supportive of each other, that they fought a lot, and all that was true. And my other memory of that list is Mrs. Bighead hitting on Rocco.
Seducing Rocco.
Like hardcore. And calling a phone sex line that Rocco worked for.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a kid's show, and that scene did happen. So like there are some issues there, but I watched an episode. It was the Wacky Deli episode. This is like the one episode I had access to. And so, gosh, I don't even know how to describe this. So there was a scene where Ed was in a hamster ball, and he was chasing Bev throughout the house, and they were like laughing and giggling, and like it very much looked like foreplay of some kind. Yeah, like it like they had a very loving relationship, I thought, and there was moments I know where they were like, I can picture Mrs. Bighead's voice being like, "Aw, Eddie," or stuff like that. I can picture like some affection in the relationship. But like,
do that voice again?
I don't think I can. It's not going to happen again. It was a terrible choice. Probably should have edited it out, but you know, we're going to keep it.
We're going to keep it.
We got to keep it. It's a part of history now. But yeah, the whole hitting on Rocco thing, they did fight a lot. I still think they're on the bad side of the good bad continuum, I guess. Yeah. But I didn't quite push them over the top into the list. What about you? What did you think?
Basically sounds like we had the same thing. And it was a stretch because I tried to look at them as a unit as well as individuals. Mm-hmm. It was hard for me to look at them as a unit just because I strongly dislike Mr. Bighead. He's just angry and grumpy and just angry at the world, bitter, and just dislikes and hates everybody and was mean to Rocco and Heifer and
mean to his son too. Like he took him a while to come around to his son.
Yeah, son.
And his wife's very loving towards the son.
Yeah, so they just had a very different dynamic. So. Mm-hmm. I mean, she just kept him in line a lot, although she was very, very loud at times as well, very domineering. But yeah, just them together. I don't know, they just had a sucky relationship.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it had enough on it where I didn't push them over the top. Plus, I really wanted to talk about Doug and Patty, so it had to be on there.
I also, fun fact. I read somewhere that the writer based them off of their actual grumpy neighbors. If I'm not mistaken.
That's amazing.
Them. Yeah.
That's amazing. And the show's coming back. Rocco's Modern Life is coming back.
Rocco's Modern Life is coming back. I'm very excited.
I've watched the trailer. I am super interested in. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go on this new Rocco.
Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah. See how the big heads play out on that.
Yep. Let's see. Who else you got on your honorable mentions?
So the rest of my honorable mentions are all Hey Arnold characters.
Okay, shoot.
I have Arnold and Ruth and Arnold and Lila.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about. Big Bob Pataki and Miriam Pataki.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. There's so much to say about these two. I'm not going to get into it too much, but he's just such a jerk. And she is so... like, she's very much given up. She's kind of a very sad character. Mm-hmm. The way she talks about and drinks smoothies is very much a metaphor for alcoholism, the way she is.
Yeah.
He's very domineering, very caught up in Olga more so than his wife or with Helga.
Yeah.
Just not a lot good that I remember from the two of them.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, Harold is your jam. I know.
Okay.
I remember
Yeah.
their relationship being pretty bad, and he was like a big businessman, right?
Yeah,
And
Big Bob's Beepers. Like, he's probably out of business by now. Like, that's one of the things I'm most curious about. Like, how did the Pataki family handle moving into cell phones? Did, like, they make that transition okay? Or did they kind of, like, lose their business? Because, like, he made a lot of money on those beepers.
yeah, he seems, from what I remember about his personality, he seemed very persistent.
Yeah, that's true.
His beliefs. So I doubt that he attempted to make that transition.
Yeah, he was very stubborn. Oh, they were bad. And the last one I have from Harold Universe is Oscar Kakashka and his wife, whose name I can't remember now. I wrote it down earlier, and I don't remember what it was. I don't remember. Anyway.
I vaguely remember that relationship now that you mentioned it.
Oh, man. The whiny, make me a sandwich, doesn't care about her at all, wasted money, bet money, like lost money gambling. Like, he was a trip.
Yeah.
And like every storyline was centered around how terrible a person he was and how he took like this tiny step to be like not as terrible. And then she would stick around, and it was just,
yeah. Just hate to see it go down like that.
Oh man, it was rough. You could do so much better. Woman whose name I can't remember.
We can at least remember your name if you're doing better.
I feel really, really bad now. But yeah, they were just, oh man, he was bad. And I think she probably had some issues that probably kept her around. I'm sure.
Yeah.
He wasn't like abusive or mean in any way. He was just a terrible partner that only cared about himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about her that kept her in that relationship. There might be something there in terms of like wanting to be the functional one in the relationship, or kind of wanting to take care of someone. There might be something that led into that, but oof, that's a rough relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like Arnold does have a lot of relationships that could use a lot of work.
Oh my gosh, this whole list, my whole bet, if I had the option, my whole list would have been Arnold. I don't know which is worse, the Patakis or Kakashkas, but they would have also made this list. And my number one is from Harold, so we'll get to that in a second. But
Okay. So we'll do my honorable mentions real quick.
Oh yeah, go through.
Quick.
Yeah.
So I only have two more. So SpongeBob and Patrick, honorable mention.
Okay.
So not SpongeBob and Patrick as a whole, like throughout the series of them being like just really close friends and debatable whether they like had any further interest in each other or not.
Right.
That's out the window. Focusing specifically on this one moment that I can remember where SpongeBob and Patrick became parents.
Okay.
SpongeBob and Patrick became parents. I think they had a baby clam. Patrick was the dad. SpongeBob was the mom. SpongeBob was wrecking himself at home, doing motherly duties, cleaning up, cooking. SpongeBob actually grew more arms so SpongeBob could like do all these tasks. Patrick was at work. Patrick would come home late. Patrick was at work. Patrick come home late. Patrick was going back to work. Come to find out, Patrick was actually at the bar drinking.
Oh man.
Yeah, so bad parents just all around in Nickelodeon. So that's SpongeBob and Patrick.
Maybe it's something about becoming a parent in the Nickelodeon universe. Like all of a sudden something terrible happens and you can't do basic things.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, those messages that get
It's a
sent.
curse. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So lastly, I had Chucky and Megan. So
tell me the story about Chucky and Megan.
Chucky and Megan. I'll give you a brief rundown of it. I'll give you the abridged version. So Chucky, the rest of the Rugrats went to the park one day. Met this girl named Megan. They were pretty cool, Rugrats and Megan. Megan kept picking on Chucky, messing with Chucky, teasing Chucky. So Rugrats would, the rest of the Rugrats and Chucky would go back and talk. They couldn't figure out what was going on, why she was so crazy, why she kept messing with Chucky. So one day, she was picking on Chucky. Chucky finally snapped. Chucky asked her, he said, why you keep picking on me? And she said, because I like you, okay? She ran off. So she really liked him. She was just trying to show affection.
A huge message that kids get sent all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did what she knew how to do at that age. I guess it was developmentally appropriate. Again, something that seems to be consistent about my list is whenever these guys find out girls like them, they just can't resist. So Chucky goes to liking Megan. They start to hang out.
After being treated pretty terribly.
Treated pretty terribly. He even went back and told the other Rugrat friends that he was getting serious and thinking about getting married. Granted, Chucky's 3 at this point, but that's neither here nor there. Let's fast forward a little bit. One day Chucky was in the park looking for Megan, couldn't find Megan, looked everywhere for Megan, couldn't find her. Finally found her. She was on the swings, swinging and chilling with another dude. Dang. So, swinging with another dude, broke Chucky's heart. Chucky ran off crying. She called Chucky back. She called him back.
Wait. She called him back?
She called him back over.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like on the phone.
No. She was calling for him as he was running off.
Gotcha.
But took no further advancements after that. Just let him run off.
That's like out of a movie right there.
Yeah. So that was the end of Chucky and Megan, although she appeared in other cameo episodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So.
Okay.
It's my honorable mentions.
I have no memory of that, so that did not make my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So, number 1. Let's hear it.
Number 1. All right. So you're going to have to work with me a little on this one.
I'm really excited because I honestly don't even have a guess right now.
You don't have a guess?
No, not even.
You don't think so?
No.
I think you might. Who do you think it is?
I don't even have a clue. Is it Rugrats?
No. All right. So you got to think about this person or being as one entity. So I'm taking it to Cat Dog.
Oh my!
Think about Cat Dog as one entity. So it is neither cat nor dog.
I have no concept of this. Go on, go for it.
So it's neither cat nor dog, but it's Cat Dog.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to go number 1, Cat Dog, and Shriek.
Okay.
So this is where my research interest comes out.
Let's hear it.
So you remember Shriek from the Greasers? They used to, the Greasers were like the bullies, then they were
Which
dogs.
one was it?
She was short poodle.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Had the curly hair. Yeah. So she was very, very emotional, romantically attracted to Dog. She got a huge crush on Dog that she would hide from the rest of like the Greaser gang. So whenever they were beating up Cat Dog, she would hit Cat, but she would never touch Dog.
Okay.
Never touch Dog. So for me,
you're about to get real symbolic right now. I love it. Go ahead.
So it's like it symbolizes like our identity, right? So it's like almost like to say, I love you, but there's this piece about you that I absolutely hate. And if it wasn't for this one piece of you, like we could be so great together. But that thing is so strong, that small piece of your identity that is large to you is something that I just can't love you for. So
that's beautiful, man.
I appreciate it.
That's beautiful.
I appreciate it.
As soon as you started, I was like, oh, I know where he's going with this. This is going to be great. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah, because it is very symbolic for this idea of like, especially because she's so hateful towards Cat. And like, they always, and just kind of like that, not accepting, because like not liking things about a partner, that's one thing. Like not liking a part, but completely rejecting and being violent towards another identity is, that's
for sure
much more serious. So I like where you're going. Yeah, that was really smart.
Yeah. So that one was touched me personally. Yeah, that was
definitely
fits right into the groove of the research area and social advocacy.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So mine's not symbolic at all.
Okay, well,
Helga and Arnold.
That's right too. And I also didn't want to include Helga and Arnold because I figured you'd take that one away.
It's like the obsession. So I already talked about the obsession thing with like Doug and Patty, but Helga takes it to a new level. And a lot of this does have to do with where Helga comes from with her parents and like not getting the attention. And like, you learn in an episode where Helga's in therapy that the reason she likes Arnold so much is on this day in preschool where she was getting zero attention from her parents. Her parents didn't care about her. Arnold like offered her an umbrella and said he liked her bow. And that was it for her. So like it's nice because it's so wrapped up in this like very important moment for her. Like she has this like very important tie as to why she likes Arnold so much.
Yeah.
But it's out of control because she is incredibly mean to him. She's, hurtful.
She's all over the place.
She is. She's all over the place too. Like it's hot and cold, and Arnold has no interest in her, and except when she's pretending to be a French woman or when she's pretending to be Lila at a party.
Yeah.
Which also very weird. And she does like very intricate plans to like mess with Arnold's life.
Yeah, for sure.
Like going back to the cheese festival, like she put a lot of things in motion to make sure Arnold didn't talk to Ruth or that didn't go well. Like some pretty intense things. And like
sabotaging.
She turns to violence whenever people find out about her attraction to Arnold. She punches that dude right in the face. Like, but yeah, they're my number one just because it's, it's on every level that she just treats him so horribly, but expects him to like her still. Yeah. Arnold's a very nice person, so he does treat her with some level of respect.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not an endearing thing that he does, and it bothers me too because the movie played into their relationship like becoming a thing, and I think a lot of people who watched the show really played into it, and that's I think what bothers me the most is if she was just some weird character who was obsessed with Arnold and people just kind of like laughed that off, that would be one thing. But I have like seen in lots of reactions, and like I think that the show was trying to build towards them getting together. There's fake flash forward episodes where I think Helga's the president. I'm trying to remember that now.
Yeah.
Something like that, and like Arnold's in like some forward flashing and that's I think from Helga's imagination, but still like I think the writers did a very intentional job of like playing it up like they were eventually like going to be a thing, and I think that's unfortunate for Arnold. Like very unfortunate for Arnold.
Yeah,
because it's not a good relationship on any level.
I would also say that you, as you mentioned Lila in that story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice how much she gets on my nerves until like we think about how she decided that she wasn't going to like Arnold anymore, or like take any advances because she found out that Helga had a crush on her, and she was trying to be, I guess she was trying to be a ride or die friend. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, like, how do you, I don't know if she struggled with it, but like, how do you suppress feelings towards someone else because of someone else who is somewhat kind of your friend,
right?
But also really doesn't really care for you either.
Did that come out in like the play episode where Helga's like picking off all the women who are supposed to play Juliet?
I believe so. Yeah, and she wanted that part in the play.
Yeah, and Lila was like the last one she had to knock off, and she ended up just like telling her that she was into Arnold, and
she was gonna keep her secret.
Then Helga took advantage of that situation. Like,
man.
She really went for that kiss, and
hey, Arnold
a little weird. Like I know it's part of the play, but she definitely took that beyond a reasonable level to the point where it was a little probably uncomfortable for Arnold.
Yeah,
and putting him in a bad situation. So
she is 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but making a shrine in your closet of chewed gum. Oh man, that's a whole other level. That is, Doug's pretty over the top with Patty, but like Helga hits a whole new level with that obsession. Like,
I guess nowadays people just download photos of their crush on Facebook and save them as like their lock screens.
Yeah,
it's like the equivalent, right?
I don't know if there's an equivalent to chewing gum, like statues. Yeah. That's a little much. And I remember I have a very distinct like memory of her like dancing with it and kissing it.
Yeah, getting stuck to it.
Yeah.
It's
just rough.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from this because that's disgusting, dude. That's disgusting.
Let's pick this up in a positive direction. Let's go to our good list. So let's go 3 and 2, then our honorable mentions, and then we'll talk about our number 1. So who you got number 3?
Number 3. So number 3, I actually have Stu and Dee Dee Pickles.
Okay.
I think it helps in the greater context of the other adult relationships and parenting figures in the show that it's hard to see them as not being good, mainly because everyone else is so bad.
Yeah.
But, Stu and Dee Dee had their own problems, had their own issues, just like any couple would.
Right.
Stu was an inventor. He was very creative. His inventions sucked. Yet she was very supportive of him sometimes.
They were supportive of each other.
Yeah, she was annoyed, but she was supportive. They were supportive of each other. They had each other's back. They spent a lot of time together, and they also like cherished their two kids as part of their family. And as we also talked about how Angelica's parents weren't that great parental figures to her, they also even took the liberty upon themselves from time to time to like be more of those positive parent figures towards Angelica and integrating her into like their own system. So they had a very respectful, very supportive relationship with each other.
And they wanted to be good parents because they read a lot about Dr. Lipschitz.
Yeah.
And they value research, which gives us bonus points on this podcast.
Yeah.
So good for you guys.
Research. Don't know if it was peer reviewed or supported by anything, but it was research.
I'm pretty sure he was very Freudian, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very much Freudian.
Pretty sure he had an Austrian accent when he.
Yeah.
Also
names and cartoons back then. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, we can get into Assistant Principal Bone and Principal Butt Savage later if you want, but Lipschitz. Also, an interfaith couple. Because Stu is Christian and Dee Dee is Jewish.
That's right.
And they both celebrated both things, which I thought was very cool.
That's right. And exposed their children.
Absolutely.
To different cultures. Yeah.
And being very accepting of both cultures. And obviously it's a kid's show, but like it never seemed to like come between them very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good point.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, so my number 3.
My number 3, we're going to the worlds of Rocko's Modern Life.
Okay.
Do you have a guess?
Is it Heifer's parents?
No, that would be interesting. The wolves? No. I honestly don't remember what they're like.
I think I remember his dad being really mean.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Yeah. His mom's nice, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have Filbert and Dr. Paula Hutchison. You know her?
Yeah.
Like a very good couple, and they are very much different. Like she's very optimistic and happy all the time, and he's essentially a Woody Allen stereotype. We're just very neurotic and anxious and gets nauseous a lot. But she kind of like, I think, there's lots of research against the whole opposites attract thing. You're more likely to end up with someone similar to you than opposite. But there is like idea of like being complementary towards each other. And I think they brought out the best in each other a lot. And I think you mostly saw it with her kind of pushing him to do things. So kind of like helping him through his nauseousness and anxiety. She was very supportive of him. And she's also like a very kind of like pretty impressive character. Like she's a doctor. I'm pretty sure she did multiple doctoring things. Like I think she
was a dentist at one point.
I think she's a dentist, like and a doctor, like a medical doctor. I think she's just a very impressive work background, and she puts a lot of work into their relationship and a lot of trust in their relationship, because you might remember they had children. One of them looks exactly like Heifer.
Really?
Yeah, because Heifer sat on the egg or something.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? Yeah. So that made one of them look like him, and like it didn't cause any trust issues between the two of them, as you might expect it would.
Yeah.
Like if a baby comes out looking like a steer and I don't know what she is. A dog, a cat? I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't look like either of them, but it looks like their friend. You think there would be some trust issues, but
yeah,
they were able to explain it through the fact that it was because Heifer sat on an egg that changed it. But I thought that was good. I mean, they had kids together. They got married. I thought they were a good relationship, so I had them at number 3. All right, so what do you got for number 2?
Number 2. I'm just gonna make this the last point.
Oh, okay.
Make this the bottom line. Doug and Patty are meant to be together.
I forgot. Yeah,
And we're moving on.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have any other points? I forgot we already talked about this for you.
Yeah, I think we talked extensively about them, so
Fair enough.
I'll let that be that.
All right, my number 2. We're going. I think this is my first live action.
Okay.
So I'm going The Adventures of Pete and Pete. For those of you who are not familiar, this is a show from the early 90s. They showed a lot of reruns later on, but that's where I picked it up. But I think it started in like 1991. It's a show I really got into, and for the life of me, I don't know anyone else who like watched it as extensively as I did. I don't know what it is about me or that show, but I really, really liked it. And it's got some really great cameos in it. Steve Buscemi plays one of the characters' dad. Iggy Pop has a cameo. Michelle Trachtenberg was the main character for a while when she was very little. It was just I really enjoyed the show. It's very kind of quirky and fun and goofy. But anyway, for my list, I have Big Pete and Ellen. So they were, give you some background since probably no one knows who I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, I'd say I have nothing to offer here.
Yeah. So Big Pete's kind of the main character. He's in his teens. He's in high school. Very much what made him, I think, very interesting. He's very much a philosopher of mundane things. So he would like very much over dramatically think about everything. And it was kind of a fun twist on like a teen comedy show because he was, I don't know. Anyway, so he had this best friend, Ellen. So these were two best friends, did everything together, really supportive of each other. And that's what I liked about them is they were friends first.
Yeah.
And they never really officially got together, but there was always kind of like a tinge there. Like the writers did a really good job of kind of like very subtly putting in kind of a romantic nature to their relationship. And I tend to personally really like relationships that are friendship based first.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they are so supportive of each other, are such close friends with each other, before anything else is really important, I think.
Build a strong foundation.
Yeah,
together.
absolutely. It's a real strong foundation. And there is one episode where they go on a date, which doesn't go well because, it's TV. So they go on a date and he wants to get this really nice car to take her out. So she's like extremely excited that he asks her out. So like, again, best friends, very excited, like lots of excitement on both their accounts of like doing a date. But he wants to gets his fancy car from his bully, which doesn't make very much sense, but that was the storyline, I guess.
Okay.
And he does, but this bully gives him lots of advice about how to go on dates because Pete has never been on a date before, and it's lots of really terrible advice. It's like trying to remember exactly what it is, but something it was very like sexual in nature. How to something about fogging up the windows or like. She was trying to like give him advice about like how to make a move basically. And, cause Pete was feeling like he didn't have the understanding of how to do so. So the date didn't go well. He was trying to act like someone he wasn't.
He took that advice, I'm assuming.
He took the advice. He was trying to act more quote unquote cool than he actually was.
Okay.
He was just acting very different. So he's not being the person that she was friends with, right? So he was trying to like, because the nature of the relationship changed, he felt like he had to change. And it ruined it. But they reconciled at the end. It's a TV show, everything gets solved in a half hour. So he kind of like apologized and talked about it. And it ended with a kiss kind of a thing, but like a friend, not a friend kiss, but like a short kiss.
That kind of the turning point of the relationship? Or?
Unfortunately, because it was a kid show, it didn't have like a cohesive long-term storyline.
Yeah. It
was more just like bits.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you didn't see it necessarily build in such a way. But I really liked them. And there is this song that they play in the background every time they have one of these moments. And it was very much, it enhanced the mood quite a bit. So I think the musical choices they used did a really good job of kind of like capturing both like the feelings involved in a relationship like that, but also the ambiguity. So kind of like the not sure, but like really interested and just kind of like not being able to kind of like 100% know if that's the way you want to go. I thought it was the musical choice I thought was very, very strong, and it enhanced how I viewed their relationship.
Okay. That's a strong number 2.
Yeah.
Wow, I wonder who your number one is going to be.
Well, it plays into my bias, but we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
You want to do honorable mentions?
Yeah, let's do honorable mentions.
Actually, I have a lot of honorable mentions.
You have a lot of honorable mentions?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll do mine. I'll go with mine first.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, the way that I view these 90s Nick relationships, a lot of them sucked.
It's true. It is true.
I had such a hard time coming up with my top 3 that I was gassed. I didn't make an honorable mention.
No?
No, I was done.
Okay.
No honorable mentions for me.
I actually have a lot. All right.
Okay.
So, sticking with live action, I have Clarissa and Sam from Clarissa Explains It All.
So, yeah, I remember that show, but I don't remember much about it.
I don't remember much about their relationship, and that's why I couldn't put on the list. I'm pretty sure they were never romantically involved. Plus, he climbs into her window, which is super creepy.
Yeah.
But they were really good friends, and like I said, friendship was a big thing in terms of like me making this list. So I kind of like wanted them to be a couple. I don't know if they ever were. I don't remember it well enough.
Okay.
All right, I'll go through the rest of these. So, I just really wanted to mention Henry and June. I don't think they're ever romantically into each other. I just like them. I just wanted to mention them.
Yeah.
I do have Nigel and Marianne Thornberry as an honorable mention. I think it's cool that they work together and like travel around and do stuff, and they're both pretty supportive of each other.
Yeah,
I don't remember the show super well.
They have a good relationship. It's just they're boring. I just have this whole issue with like Nickelodeon, like adult males being like boneheads and like.
Oh yeah, that's very common in like sitcoms too.
Yeah,
like, just moronic adult males.
Yeah. That's neither here nor there.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, that's a solid point. So I have Grandma and Grandpa from Hey Arnold as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
They're all right. They had lots of affection towards each other. They still had like that very kind of stereotypical old person relationship in terms of like the conflict and her being her being a little bit off the wall.
Yeah.
And him kind of like having to deal with that. And he was supportive, but he was still kind of.
They were fun. Yeah.
Weird occasionally. All right. So my last honorable mention is Kel and orange soda because anyone wants a relationship where someone loves you that much, right? Like Kel loves orange soda so much, and like I adore the amount of I don't know.
Yeah. So help me understand. For the day. Help me understand. So what's the difference between Kel's obsession for orange soda and Doug's obsession for patty mayonnaise? Because I'm still stuck on this one. One person's obsessed with something else, and the something else doesn't necessarily love them back. I guess I'm speaking for orange soda here.
Yeah, we don't know what orange soda thinks. I don't know. I think it's a different level for Kel's love for orange soda. I don't know. I don't have any response for that.
Okay. Something to think about.
Something to think about for sure. He was certainly, I think, obsessed, but I think he was a caring, generous,
He flaunted orange soda around. He did do that.
He didn't hide his love for orange soda.
Yes, I can give you that. He was
very upfront about it. He communicated it to the orange soda every time. And just that level of affection, like before drinking the soda, just making sure the orange soda knew how much he loved them and reminding them that it was true. Mm-hmm. And that he does.
He does.
He does.
I can get down with that.
All right. What's your number one? We should not talk any more about that. What's your number one?
My number one, Rocket Power. Going Reggie Rocket and Trent.
Okay, tell me about Reggie Rocket and Trent. I do not remember this very
Trent was from, I think, New Zealand.
Okay.
I want to say. Fact check me. New Zealand. Moved to where they were. Also, Trent was a new kid on the block. All the girls had crush on Trent. Reggie had a huge crush on Trent. So for those of you who know Rocket Power, knows that Reggie was a strong female character who also kicked butt in all extreme sports.
Very true.
She was just dominating, and she excelled, and she was just awesome at everything that she did. So whenever Trent came around, Reggie really started to change. She started to make a fool out of herself. She started to act differently. She was just trying to get Trent's attention.
Gotcha.
trying to get Trent's attention, wanted him to teach her how to do basic sporting tasks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she was playing that card.
Mm-hmm. Also a very common stereotype that's played up on TV shows.
Yes, for sure. So she continued to do that, and it came out that she was just faking. She confessed. She eventually came around. I actually know how to skate. I don't fall all the time. Matter of fact, I rarely fall. I'm an excellent surfer. This is where my bias and my passion, my research comes in again.
Okay, hit me.
So this was Trent's response to that. Very nonchalantly responded, and he was just kind of like, "Oh, I knew the whole time." He's like, "I was just waiting for you to come out and be yourself. I like you for who you are."
Dang.
And so I was like, man, for him to just go along with it and be like, because he could easily say, "Hey, I know this isn't you," but like he let her discover that path on her own, and they were able to make something out of that.
Yeah, I like that.
Like that was cool to be there and support, but not to control.
Yeah,
and I think it's huge in relationships.
I think a lot of TV characters that I've seen really kind of like really react to lies like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's very common to have a reaction of like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not mad that you're like this, but I just wish you had told me."
Yeah.
And it sounds like in the situation, Trent kind of went that extra step of like really connecting with her and like understanding where she's at and like letting her come around to it. Like you said, I think that was a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. So that's my number one. I'm proud of that one.
That was good. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about your number one. Should we get a drum roll?
Do you have a guess? I think you can get it.
Let's see. It's not Harold, is it?
Huh?
It's not from Harold.
It is from Harold.
It is from Harold.
It is. Which is completely my bias. I completely acknowledge that.
It wouldn't consist of Gerald, would it?
It would.
Oh, well, let's hear it.
Gerald Johansson and Phoebe Heyerdahl.
Yeah.
Again, this is completely just like I have so many positive feelings towards them. And it was a very subtle storyline. You kind of pick it up as you go occasionally. And according to Craig Bartlett, they were official.
Okay.
So according to the guy who did the show, like they were official in the show.
Never knew that. Learned something new.
And this is kind of where I kind of play in that developmental piece because like, they're young, so they're not going to get to a certain level of intimacy, emotional or physical, like at that age, right? They're just they're not going to kiss. They're not going to, maybe they do, but like not like a full on make out. They're not going to like be as close as a couple as, hold around, but like they show affection. They hold hands in a few episodes. They're very like cordial towards each other. And like one of the big things with this couple is who's Phoebe's best friend? Do you remember?
Was it, who was it?
Helga.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
And how does Helga treat Phoebe?
Same way she treats everybody.
Yeah, like, and worse, because she's just so, like, demanding of her.
Yeah.
And, like, Phoebe is so much how Oscar Kokoschka's wife is towards Oscar. She's like that towards Helga, and just, like, do whatever you say and, like, do whatever. And she didn't seek out a romantic partner like that at all. Gerald's not like that. Gerald's very yeah, he does not kind of like take advantage of her in a situation. She's not looking for a partner that would to take care of or to do their bidding, so to speak. She's looking for a partner who's more looking for an equal relationship. And I think it's cool that they're very different in terms of kind of like their persona. Like she's kind of like the smart nerd. And he's kind of like the cool guy, right? With all the stories.
Sure. And I think that was like the best, most interesting dynamic that to pull those two pieces together. I thought that was something cool to see. Yeah. Something that you don't see very often.
Absolutely. And I think they kind of value that in each other. Like just being able to, Phoebe's not going to start getting on porches and telling stories about legends, but Gerald didn't seem like he was getting bad grades, but he's not moving up to like the 6th grade or whatever it is that Phoebe moved up to in that episode.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that they find those qualities attractive about each other.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they find each other attractive in a romantic sense and find each other like just being friendly towards each other and treating each other well. I really like them.
For sure. I think it's it's pretty common that, whenever you're with a romantic partner, that you guys pick up on some things that you like about each other, and you kind of take on some of those habits or different sayings or different mannerisms. At the same time, though, it's like they didn't lose themselves in the relationship that they built together. And they respected that, and they gave each other the space to continue to be them in the relationship.
Yeah, there was no storyline about Gerald trying to act a certain way to impress her or her acting a certain way to impress him, which is kind of what you'd expect, right? The cool guy, the one everyone likes. You'd think she would have to put on this like big or feel like she had to put on this big show. And she doesn't have to. He kind of likes her for her, and she likes him for him.
For sure. Yeah. It's a good number one, dude.
Thank you. They were going to be my number one, probably no matter what. I even if I probably watched every episode of everything, it wouldn't have swayed my.
So whenever we do like 70s live action, I'm pretty sure Phoebe and Gerald's going to be the number one too.
I do follow the rules. Yeah. And they fit within the rules, so they're number one. Ship them forever. I would also love to see, also in addition to the Doug show that they're going to create for us, where they're college age Doug, I really want a college age Harold episode.
That'd be nice.
I want to see Gerald and Phoebe, what their relationship looks like in their early 20s. Yeah. They better still be together. Otherwise, I'd be really upset.
Yes, I hope so.
I don't know if I'd watch the show if they weren't together. That's not entirely true, but I'd be very upset. All right. Any parting thoughts? 90s Nickelodeon couples that you feel like should be out there?
I don't know. I honestly think we did a better job than I expected in covering a broad range of different couples throughout different series, throughout main couples as well as couples who only appeared for single moments and episodes. I think we did a pretty good job.
I think so too. I apologize to those who were interested in shows that I feel like we covered a lot of shows between the two of us. I didn't know Rugrats as well, but you did. I didn't know Rocket Power as well, but you did.
For sure.
I know Harold a little bit better.
Yeah, you got Harold.
I feel like I remember Rocco a little bit more than you too.
Yeah, you got Rocco.
So that worked out. And thanks to you for listening today. If you want to become a part of Relevation Nation and get daily information about romantic relationships, or just want to learn more about Relevate, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/myrelevate. Follow us on Twitter at myrelevate, or on Instagram at instagram.com/myrelevate. Special thanks to our producer and the composer of our opening music, Denzel Jones. See you next time.